The First Lady of the United States of America believes she is, quote, the most bullied person in the world. In an interview that aired this week, Melania Trump gave that reason as the impetus behind her Be Best anti-bullying campaign. My initial reaction to that statement fell somewhere on the spectrum between bewilderment and disbelief. But after some thought, I think Melania is actually onto something. Hear me out. Bullying is isolating. You're singled out for your looks, your beliefs, the way you act, any combination of things often out of the victim's control. You're made to feel like you don't matter and you don't belong. When you're being picked on by people, especially the sort who love to anonymously troll strangers behind a default profile picture on social media, you feel tiny. You feel alone. You're made to feel like there's something wrong with you specifically. Did Melania ask for this scrutiny? Well, yes and no. As a famous influencer type, the spotlight is going to burn brighter on her than it will for most of us. But she didn't aspire to become First Lady. She didn't volunteer to be held accountable for her husband's politics, and she sure as heck didn't ask for opinions on her wardrobe or lifestyle. I believe that Melania believes she is bullied. To put her down and disregard her opinion is in itself an act of bullying. That said, with all due respect, calling herself one of the most bullied may send the wrong message to the children her initiative is trying to help. You can't really quantify bullying. The most bullied echoes as hollow as someone calling themselves the smartest person. Every bullying victim has a unique experience. Their perception begets their reality. Just like there are various forms of intelligence, you can't paint all bullying with the same brush. Melania getting harassed online for wearing a pith helmet in Africa is not the same as a transgender child being picked on at school. And Melania is an adult. She's better equipped to handle the pressure of a high-profile position, one as she has held long enough to know the opinions of others don't have to upset her apple cart. But kids don't have that perspective. They haven't built up that alligator skin. Every event in their short lives is monumental. And when children are being harassed, especially in places that should be safe havens like home and school, it feels like that's all there is to the world. Nothing but vitriol, judgment, and hate. According to the CDC, suicide rates for 10 to 17-year-olds increased by more than 70% from 2006 to 2016. Suicide is currently the third leading cause of death for youth between the ages of 10 and 24. More kids kill themselves than die from cancer, heart disease, AIDS, birth defects, stroke, pneumonia, influenza, and chronic lung disease combined. The American Medical Association claims kids who are bullied are more than twice as likely to attempt suicide than their peers. Can you imagine one of your students, one of your siblings, one of your children so distraught that taking their own life feels like the only way out? We need to help those in need. That should be the driving force behind Melania's campaign, not comparing suffering. You don't need to be best or be the most of anything. You're perfect just the way you are. You're not alone. You have value. You're loved. And I promise life gets better.